looks like Command Central over there.
Very impressed. I look for one on top.
Hope so. Good evening and welcome to the Planning Commission meeting for Tuesday, August 8th, 2023. I have something to read before we begin. The city has returned to hybrid public meetings pursuant to AB 361, which allows for deviation from the teleconference rules required by the Ralph M. Brown Act. Residents now have the option to attend the meeting in person or to participate remotely. To participate remotely, residents can live stream the meeting at www.prcity.com/YouTube or call 805-865, number is missing, 7276 to provide public comment via phone. The phone line will be open just prior to the start of the meeting and remain open throughout the meeting to ensure the opportunity for the public to comment on each item heard by the Commission. Written comments can be submitted via email to planning@prcity.com. Those received prior to 12 o'clock noon on the day of the meeting to be posted to the city's website as an addendum to the agenda. If submitting written comments in advance of the meeting, please note the agenda item by number or name. Planning Commission meetings will be live streamed during the meeting and available to play later on YouTube by accessing the following link, www.prcity.com/YouTube. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Connolly? Here. Commissioner Marlowe?
Present.
Commissioner Covarrubias? Commissioner Davis? Commissioner Kogler?
Here.
Commissioner Christensen?
Here.
Chairperson Neal?
Here.
The record will reflect that Davis and Covarrubias are absent.
Thank you. Staff introductions, please.
Warren Frace, Community Development Director.
Marcy Reynoso and Ashley Peterson, Administrative Assistants.
Darren Nash, planner.
This is Annie Branham, legal counsel.
And I think that may be it. Now's the time for general public comments regarding matters not on the agenda. Is anybody wishing to speak? Seeing none. Marcy, anybody online?
No callers.
Great. Thank you very much. And then agenda items to be proposed to be tabled or rescheduled. I would like to make a suggestion that we rearrange the discussion items and the consent calendar. So consent calendar first, I, and then H. Any objections? Do I need to? Great, thank you. There are no public hearings tonight, so we'll go right into the consent calendar. And that begins with the Olson South Chandler Specific Plan Planning Area 13 street names. Staff, do you have a presentation or no presentation?
No presentation. It's a consent item, but I am here to answer questions. Also, Adam Tancredi is also on the call if there's any questions about the proposed names.
Commission have any questions regarding the street names? Commissioner Christensen.
I just have one question. The last name on the proposed list, can somebody pronounce that for me? I was unfamiliar with that, and I'm just dying out of curiosity.
Is it Tancredi? Is it that one?
No, it's the one that starts with a G. I'm afraid to try and pronounce it.
Gehagen?
Gehagen. Gotcha. Okay, thank you for that. And then for staff, do the alternatives automatically go over? So if the council decides to use an alternative instead of something like the last one just mentioned, do they get to choose from that, or?
The Planning Commission's approval of the street names is the end. So then they will work on their map, get the names in there. So if there's a request to switch one name out for an alternative, that should be done tonight with the review by the Planning Commission.
Okay. I'm not sure I want to make it a request. I'm just was throwing it out as a suggestion because I didn't know how to pronounce it. So I'm done.
No, by all means, if you guys want to change that, that's we're okay.
I'm sorry, what was that? Go ahead.
I said if you guys want to change that, that's okay. Just let us know, and you can pick one of the alternates.
Well, I didn't want to offend anybody, but it is pretty hard to pronounce, and I might make a suggestion that they pick one of the alternatives if it were me. Just a suggestion from myself. This is Commissioner Christensen.
I would second.
Darren, should we just change that to Harper Lane?
So the applicant is proposing Harper Lane instead of the Gehagen.
Any commissioner comments on further?
Oh, well, I just said I would agree. I think Harper's fine.
So comments, anybody have? No,
No, I would be fine with Harper too. Yeah.
Harper would be it. Is there a motion to approve street names and the adjustment to the last one? I'm not even going to try it. To Harper.
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
Any further questions? Roll call, please.
Was that
Conley, Kogler.
Kogler as a second? Yes. Okay. Commissioner Connolly? Aye. Commissioner Kogler?
Aye.
Commissioner Christensen,
Aye.
Commissioner Marlowe,
Aye.
Chairperson Neal.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
And then approval of Development Review Committee meeting minutes. I think we have a few edits.
I just have a request that there be a correction for, under the DRC minutes for item 1, Christensen Family Trust. It's TENSEN instead of TIAN. And the same for the applicant's name, Jen Christensen. There's one N and then it's just TENSEN.
Which minutes was that? What date?
I apologize. That was July 24th.
Thank you. Oh, got it. All right, spelling.
And then on the July 3rd meeting, I do not believe Commissioner Davis was in attendance.
July 3rd,
Yes,
she was not.
she was not.
Okay, so it was just Connolly and Neal?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? Do I have a motion to approve?
I will make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Christensen. Second by Marlowe. Any further questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Christensen,
Aye.
Commissioner Marlowe,
Aye.
Commissioner Connolly,
Aye.
Commissioner Kogler,
Aye.
Chairperson Neal.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0 with corrections.
And that closes the consent, and now discussion items. First item on the discussion is Paso Robles Streetscape Ad Hoc Status Report.
Chairperson Neal, I would need to recuse myself for a business relationship from that.
Great, thank you. And with that, Commissioner Christensen will leave the meeting room and maybe even leave the meeting.
Have a great week.
Thank you, and enjoy your trip. And staff, do you have a presentation?
Yes, we do. So you will recall that about a year or so ago, the Planning Commission created an ad hoc committee that was tasked with coming up with some sort of design streetscape ideas for Paso Robles Street, which is one of the gateway streets into the downtown area with a off-ramp off of 101 northbound. So that committee has been meeting regularly for the last year or so. And what we're going to do tonight is we wanted to basically walk you through what the committee's come up with to date. We think the next step in this process would be to present kind of the work to date to the city council, and then get some direction on next steps. So this is basically kind of a report and check-in, and then we're looking for direction on whether the commission believes this is ready to move on for the council to take a look at it, as well as the general public. So with that, we'll get started here. So a little bit of background, and some of this you may already know. We're putting this in. This is actually what we think the council report's going to look like as well. So there's some information in here that'll be, is for the general public as well as the city council. So the Planning Commission formed this committee in 2021. The committee members originally were, I believe, Covarrubias, Jorgensen, and Kogler, and then when Jorgensen stepped down, Christensen replaced her. Basically, the task was to explore options to enhance the Paso Robles Street corridor because of its importance as a community gateway and entry off of 101. The ad hoc committee has received stakeholder comments. Staff has gone out on behalf of the committee and met with a number of the property owners and tenants. And safety and appearance issues along Paso Robles Street were some of the general themes that we heard over and over again. Ad hoc committee did work on a draft work program that basically worked us through this process. And today is our Planning Commission review meeting. I'll go to the next one. All right, here we go. All right, so we started out with SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We did the stakeholder interviews. We reviewed existing plans, which include the Uptown Town Center specific plan, the Salinas River plan, and then the 2023 Economic Development Plan. And we also hosted a design charrette. So SWOT analysis was basically an internal process where we went through and identified some of the key themes in terms of issues in the area. And basically, like I said, the issues identified had to do with safety, lighting, speeding. I think the opportunities included the proximity to the downtown, the proximity to the river, and its importance as a gateway. And then the stakeholder outreach process. As I said, we've met with a number of the key property owners within the corridor. What we heard from them is traffic and speeding, lighting and security, the importance of maintaining the existing service uses. So there's a lot of service and construction type support businesses in this area. And there was a desire among, those that we heard from that they wanted to maintain those and then add other complementary uses. And this really does support a number of small and local businesses. So this has always been kind of a business incubator kind of zone where you could rent a fairly small space and get a business established. Parking's a big challenge, especially with the auto repair uses. So additional off-street parking would definitely benefit the district. Okay, so Uptown Town Center specific plan. So that's the code for the whole downtown area. That's the form-based code that includes a lot of design guidelines and design concepts. So it had a whole section devoted to the Paso Robles Street corridor. This was done in 2011. So this is basically the image of the Paso Robles corridor, which you can see kind of implies a mixed-use district with some sort of boardwalk frontage along the river, potentially an amphitheater, access and trails along the river, landscaping enhancements, boardwalks, all these kind of features are included in the vision for this corridor. And then we also had the Salinas River plan, which was the follow the river, follow the dream vision for this area. And this was a plan basically for the entire corridor, basically to prove access and trails, but it also included a similar concept for Paso Robles Street of new infill businesses, new connections and roads, and a trail along the river. So we have two plans that were previously either approved or endorsed by the City Council that all kind of point in the direction of enhancing Paso Robles Street and connecting to a river trail along Paso Robles Street. So we did have a design charrette. I believe this was back in September of 2022. So we had the committee members along with planning staff and engineering staff all together. We laid out big maps on tables divided into different focus groups. Some of the groups looked at policy and design issues. Other ones looked at kind of land use and streetscape issues. But that basically identified kind of key areas and concepts for the corridor that have been further developed in this plan. So I think what we're referring to this is the Paso Robles Street corridor vision concept. So this is, the idea is this is kind of a framework plan that pulls together the common themes from the Salinas River plan, the Uptown plan, and then the ad hoc committee into kind of a concept for how to move forward with both development and public improvements in this corridor. So we've identified a series of special study opportunity areas. We've identified traffic calming as a major goal. We've identified enhanced streetscape within the public right-of-way as an important upgrade, and a formal partnership program with private property owners in there as an important process in terms of moving this forward. This isn't a project that the city is just going to be able to do on its own. It's really going to require a lot of private investment if we're really going to change the character of this corridor. So this is the refinement of the corridor vision based on what came out of the Charette. So I think some of the key things, we'll zoom in a little bit more detailed, but you've got 13th Street and the bridge here. You've got the Salinas River along the top. This is the 101 off-ramp here. So this is the Paso Robles Street corridor. So the concept would be streetscaping and traffic calming enhancements along the entire corridor. A enhancement to the gateway where we kind of had that cul-de-sac kind of feature at the off-ramp, enhancing that as a formal gateway feature. The Smith property in the center is the largest kind of underutilized piece of land in the area. It's also got the best access to the river. So a project here that somehow provided new additional uses that could be both retail, food, dining, entertainment related, that provided connection between the street and the river, seems like something that would be ideal for moving this corridor forward. We have the layout for the river trail that basically would connect over to Navajo, which is the Centennial Trail that runs by the high school. That would require some bridging across the river, but then that would give us a connection up to Paso Robles Street and then up to the downtown eventually. And then the city owns this corner parcel. This is the city water department or water yard. We do have the old historic waterworks building on the corner. So this was identified as a potential area where we could do some sort of streetscape, maybe plaza type enhancements here. So we basically have 3 projects plus the trail, plus the corridors, kind of the major themes that have come out of this effort. So here are the study areas. So you got the off-ramp, traffic calming, Smith, river trail, city water yard. All right, so in terms of the off-ramp gateway, we've kind of got a concept here. Basically, the idea would be to clean up the existing paved surfaces. We've got asphalt there, but no curb and gutter. There used to be landscaping. Most of that's kind of deteriorated now. There's limited lighting there, so you can kind of see what the character is. It doesn't look too sharp. So the idea would be to come back, leave all the travel lanes more or less as they are, but we would be landscaping, adding the sidewalks in. There's the idea of maybe some vertical pilaster entry features, kind of similar to what you see on the Niblick Bridge. We actually had some concepts done a number of years for these kind of features, so potentially that could be part of the entry feature here. So that's the idea. Mr. Viborg owns these parcels here. He's definitely interested in developing those as well. So we do think that there'll probably be some private development here that then would help to contribute hopefully to some of the frontage improvements and some of the landscaping improvements as well. All right, traffic calming, safety lighting, that was a major theme that came up. So what we were looking at is trying to use different landscaping and streetscape features to slow the traffic. Right now, people come racing off the off-ramp and sometimes they don't really slow down. There is kind of a high point right here that we think if that was actually enhanced with potentially like a pedestrian crosswalk, some landscaping, narrowing it down with choker islands, that would create a visual signal as you get off the freeway that this is no longer a freeway and this would force you to slow down. We believe once you slowed the traffic down, it probably wouldn't get back up to the 50, 60 miles an hour that we currently have. There's so many driveways and so much traffic in here. It's really a dangerous situation for cars to just fly down that road. Lighting is very limited. There's not much in the way of street lighting there. So we are proposing that would have street lighting down the entire corridor, along with street trees. We have spots with sidewalks. We have a lot of gaps in the sidewalks, so filling in all the sidewalks, we have a continuous sidewalk would be very helpful. And then landscaping, we're also hopeful as the city does this work that then the frontages along some of these buildings, they would take the initiative to improve or put in their own landscaping as well. That'd be part of the partnership approach. So in terms of streetscape, I think what we've really focused in on is the kind of pedestrian crossing islands that'll probably have some sort of decorative paving, landscaping. We're still kind of fine tuning that. And then some sort of maybe thematic light. So we're working right now with Public Works on some sort of concept for kind of a cantilevered light, but not a standard Cobra head, something with a more decorative feature. We're going to ideally, we can add this to PG&E's circuit for maintenance and operation. So that's kind of the key, is trying to find a light that PG&E will agree to install and maintain. So that's kind of what we're working on. We have the same issue on Railroad Street. So trying to pin down exactly what the lighting standard would be is what we're looking at. But this idea would be a concrete pole, which could then be colorized. So we're thinking this would probably be a brown pole with brown fixtures and then the teardrop light. All right, Smith property, that's that key property in the center. That's where Shore Tech is, so it's kind of an outdoor storage yard, but it goes all the way out to the river. So during the Charette, we kind of had some design visions of turning it into more of a mixed-use space with eating, entertainment, things like that. So that's kind of been articulated. There's plenty of room there to add parking, add pedestrian features, plaza features, access to the river, potentially the amphitheater feature that's in the Uptown plan could go in there, additional buildings and whatnot, and all connected to the trail. So this is kind of just an inspirational vision of what maybe could happen there. It's a big parcel. It's nice and flat. It does have a lot of potential. The Smith family did come in with a cafe building about 6 months ago. This has been put on hold, but the idea is that would kind of go here, and maybe that's the first step in revitalizing this property. And then the river trail. So as I mentioned, this would come off of Navajo, the Centennial Trail, cross the river with some bridging, and then run parallel along the back of the private property. We have some vision of kind of the character of what this could look like that was in the Uptown plan that include the amphitheater. We had cross sections in the Uptown plan as well. So I think any potential to provide this connection, which then would get you basically from downtown over to Centennial Trail, would be a huge enhancement, not only serving the residents, but I think it'd be real popular with the tourists as well. And then we have finally the city water yard right there at 13th Street. So we have the old historic waterworks building. The corner was landscaped pretty nicely about 10 years ago, but it's kind of fallen into disrepair. There was some ideas in the Uptown plan about creating some sort of public space that somehow celebrated the importance of water and the river and whatnot. So I think some of those thematic elements might be able to be recreated in maybe some sort of interpretive plaza, open space feature on the corner that would work well with the building and kind of create a statement at the corner. So one of the Charette committees did come up with a series of recommendations of potential ideas to incorporate into the city water yard. So as I mentioned, a private-public partnership approach is going to be very important. The Charette committees did identify that as a major theme. It was identified that fairly simple improvements to both facades, landscaping, and signage could be very transformative to this district. We've kind of seen this with the A1 glass. It basically looked like this as the gateway. It now looks like this. And really, if you look at it, it's the same building, but it's been painted. They added a couple windows. It now has site lighting. They did some landscaping and some open space plaza features. And they put new signs on it. But basically, it's like night and day. So I think it shows that with some attention, you can transform these basically blighted buildings into something that's very attractive. All right. So Here's kind of what the process looks like moving forward. So tonight, this is the Planning Commission review. Our next step's City Council. I think our meeting date's probably going to be September 5th. So that will be our next step. What we're hoping to do is get council endorsement so that we can do a formal stakeholder open house in the neighborhood, but we didn't want to do that before the council weighed in on that. So that would be the next step. And then based on the information that we got from the council and the stakeholders, would refine basically the concept that we're looking at tonight. Then we would take that to the Parks and Rec Commission. They basically have oversight on trails and the river and open space, make sure that they're part of this process. Then we'd come back, have the Planning Commission check in one more time on it, and then it would go back to council for final adoption, and then we could move on with actual implementation and construction. So that, and if we did move on to implementation, basically what we would be looking for is a formal streetscape design standard, streetlight installation, hopefully funding for the Gateway demonstration project, and funding for some sort of update of the water yard. And then on the private side, would want to work with hopefully the Viborg family, the Smith family, on some sort of concepts to move their properties forward with development, and then hopefully also have some sort of facade, landscaping, signage improvement program. Maybe there's some assistance that the city could provide to move that forward. So I believe, yep, that's it. So that's the presentation. That is what the ad hoc committee has achieved over the last year or so. So I think what we're really interested in is, final feedback, comments in terms of exactly what you'd like communicated to the city council on September 5th.
So, Commission have any comments? Commissioner comments?
Yeah, early on in your exploring ideas, some of the sketches showed the trail, the pedestrian trail going alongside and behind the waterworks area and coming in closer to 13th Street. And just curious why. Well, maybe there's a good reason, or maybe the committee that generated this felt that it was better to come in closer. The river trail to come in closer
like through here.
Yeah. You had it closer to 13th Street, and now it's over in, I guess you would say, in or south thereof. And I was wondering what was there right of way issues? Was there aesthetic issues? What was the reason the trail moved from behind the waterworks to where it's proposed now?
Yeah, I think it really has to do with what Public Works is currently using this space for. So it's fairly tight behind these buildings, so that it's probably not the best place to put a trail. Definitely we could squeeze it around here to the old, I guess this was the old 12th Street right away, but this is a active yard that Public Works and the Water Department use it. So it's unlikely that we're going to get access through that. And even if we did, it probably wouldn't be ideal. So I think it appears that this is probably your best route. Obviously, these could be alternatives and whatnot. But my guess is that it's probably not going to be an easy path forward trying to go that way.
Yeah. And I know that during storms, they have like sand available for people to come in and fill their sandbags at that location. So kind of useful for that right now. I have another question. With regard to funding all of this, is there any transportation funds available through like a T program, or could be through the federal or state process?
Yeah, there's a lot of money available these days for what they call active transportation, which is bike and pedestrian facilities. So I do believe that this could qualify for some of the grants that both SLOCOG and Caltrans have available. So we are working on a grant right now on another segment of the river. So ideally, this would be that sort of thing could maybe fund some of the bridges and whatnot across the river.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks fine. It looks fantastic if we could do this. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I got You had mentioned parking was a concern of all the businesses there, and maybe I overlooked it, but was there additional parking added through this vision?
Well, I think like on the Smith property, we did show a lot of parking added there.
But that would have to get the buy-in of the...
And that would just be to serve this property. So I think that's kind of informational about what maybe you could do in other parcels. So we do have a lot of auto repair around here. This is a tight area for parking, but if you look at it, there's also a lot of open, underutilized land. So I think probably as each property came in for development, adding surface parking lots and cleaning up storage yards and things like that would be something we'd want to see. And each one of those would probably come through for a development plan to the Planning Commission as we kind of move this on. So I think every time we see an application there, finding spots for additional off-street parking is going to be a key thing to look at.
Sure. And then just, I mean, it's more of just a general question. How does the process to getting buy-in from these private owners work as far as like, you know, what if you end up getting holdouts? And again, it's just a general question. Like, are people pretty generally receptive to these upgrades, or is there always, you know, you upgrade the whole thing and there's one property is like, we're not doing it, tough love, you know?
Well, I think the idea with the plan is it's flexible enough that, and we don't expect everybody's going to participate, but we do want to make it known to the property owners that there is an opportunity to enhance the use of their property. There's obviously some economic benefits to the property owners to maybe go through that process. And we're hoping that as we start to get a couple success stories, that may then just start to build some momentum where there's, you know, new buyers, new investment, people start to rethink the corridor. I think that there's a lot of people that, you know, have been there a long time that are just kind of comfortable with that and don't really, have never thought about that corridor being anything more than it is. So we are hoping to, you know, create a couple projects that maybe jumpstart a new vision and some interest in investment there.
Cool. Thanks.
Commissioner Kobler, any comments?
Having sat on the ad hoc committee, I'm quite familiar with the topic. I guess my only comment would be, I think what we as a group tried to do is, if you look at the previous plans, they were broad, encompassing, very much vision kinds of expressions, but not necessarily real practical in terms of how and when that would happen, particularly in light of some of the redevelopment abilities the city has or doesn't have now compared to 10 years ago. And so I think we tried to go for kind of I think Warren said low-hanging fruit, or maybe the dominoes. If the Smith parcel goes, it's an impetus for somebody else to go. And so I think it was an exciting idea that if we can have small successes, they'll lead to bigger successes. We can begin to make a difference in the corridor, because otherwise it sits as it is today. And it was I think very heartening to us at the beginning to hear that people had issues with speed, appearance, traffic movement, all those kinds of things, and safety, which are real critical here. Not to mention, we had comments from people who were part of the group, none are present today, who said that they purposely don't direct visitors into this community through this corridor. There are more attractive ways to get in, and so we'd like to begin to turn that tide a little bit too. So that's the idea.
Great, thank you. And I would like to thank the 4 committee members for all the hard work and what is, in my opinion, a really great plan and idea. I was able to join the end of the charrette. There was a lot of great thoughts and drawings, and much of which we see was a result of that charrette. And those are always sort of a free flow and pretty positive events. And I was happy to see the results. So with that, is there a recommendation from a commission member for? It is a consent item, but we're more than happy to open it up for public comment. Please come up and not at all. Thank you. Please state your name and your address, and feel free.
Tony Gaspar, 2200 Country View Lane. 2 comments. Number one is the pedestrian bridge across the river. I think in concept is a great idea. My concern there would be when the river is 300 feet wide and 10 feet deep. So I'm sure the city's thought about that, but I just want to keep that in mind. I hope that's not a path to nowhere, since that bridge will be quite a challenge. And then the other part is really more, probably a bigger issue, and that is that every town, every city needs a place for the tradespeople to work from which the tradespeople can work. And this street, this area, has represented that space for Paso Robles for a long time. When I moved into town, I rented across from the A1 glass building. I rented that whole building. I started 2 companies from the whole building on the east side of that street. And so I'm very aware of it as an incubator for businesses. My concern with this effort is that if you raise the value of these properties too much by this beautification process, or driving different types of uses such as the entertainment and hospitality uses, you will drive out the businesses. I can't imagine anywhere else in Paso Robles these little air conditioning, heating, and air shops have to go. I mean, if you think about Paso, there's nowhere else. So I just want you to really keep that in mind as you're going through this process, that there's 100 businesses in there that pay reasonable rents, and they can be in Paso Robles because of that. And I hope this process does not drive them away for the benefit of a few pretty projects. So thank you for your work, and thank you for your time.
Great, thank you very much. Do I have a recommendation for the commission to the council? Commissioner Conley? No. Commissioner Marlowe?
Yeah, I'd like to propose that the ad hoc status report be forwarded to the city council for review and direction.
I'll second that.
And I will call. So first, motion by Marlowe, second by Conley. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Marlowe?
Aye.
Commissioner Connolly?
Aye.
Commissioner Kogler?
Aye.
Commissioner Neal?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. We'll note that Commissioner Christensen had left the room due to a conflict.
Thank you. So that completes the consent calendar or actually completes the discussion items for this evening. Other reports, Housing Constraints Opportunities Committee. I see that we have a meeting planned.
We have a meeting. So next Thursday, I believe, is at 1 o'clock? August 17th, 1 o'clock here in this room. We will be having a Housing Constraints and Opportunities Committee meeting. I believe we have a couple of commissioners on there, so hopefully you'll be able to attend. We're going to be looking at the zoning code update. We're going to be looking at a proposed change to the development impact fees. And we're going to be talking about a potential Uptown Town Center area expansion / rezoning. So we have those 3 agenda items, so we expect it to be a pretty good meeting.
Good, thank you. Development.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Quick question.
Of course.
Will there be information going out prior to the meeting, or will it be presented at the meeting?
Yeah, there'll be a formal staff report that will go out. Some of the key sections of the zoning code update, we'll provide those before the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Development Review Committee rotation schedule. So looks like we have a few arrangements for August. Looks like I don't know if we have somebody for next week to take Covarrubias's missing of the meeting, so we may reach out. And then it's Commissioner Conley and myself as the other 2.
Staff will check. So that would be August 14th.
August 14th, it looks like. Covarrubias is absent. Great.
I do have a comment about September.
Sure.
I won't be able to make the Development Review Committee on the 25th, nor the Planning Commission on the 26th.
Okay, we'll check for a replacement.
I also have a comment. The 18th of September, I will probably not.
9/18, okay.
I will take one of those, and I am open to either. So whoever is doesn't have a fill, I will jump in for the 25th or the 18th. Does not matter to me.
Okay. So
I can jump in for the 25th. Oh, wait, I'm already there.
You're already there.
You can jump in twice.
I'll jump in twice.
I can probably cover the other one in September.
Okay, so
Whichever one you want.
Neal
to do.
for the 25th and Kogler for the 18th?
Sure.
Perfect.
Okay.
Great. Planning Commissioner comments. Commissioner Kogler,
No comments.
Commissioner Marlowe,
No comments.
Commissioner Conley,
Comments?
and no comments from me. Staff comments.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on with future projects. So the boys' school / landing project, the public review period for the EIR closed last week. We're sorting through comments. We've received comments from agencies as well as the public. So we do expect that this will probably be ready for public review and hearings later toward the end of the year. So that one's continuing to move forward. Last week, the mitigated negative declaration was issued for the Union 46 interchange project. That's the Caltrans City Partnership project, basically to realign Airport Road and build an overcrossing at Union Road. So that is open for public comment right now. There will be a public workshop here in the council chambers on August 17th. We're looking for public comment on the project. It's a two-phase project. We've talked about the overcrossing. That's the first phase. Second phase would be a full cloverleaf interchange, which would include the closure of the intersection at Golden Hill. So there's some big issues involved in the project. We're looking along with Caltrans for comments on that. Caltrans is the lead agency, so they're going to accept all the comments, respond to all the comments, and then make the final decision. Once we get to the end of this public review process, the next step will be basically going into what they call PS&E, which is the actual plans for the project, as well as right-of-way acquisition. But they can't do that until we get through this environmental process. So there's a lot of information on that's available. The whole environmental documents on the Caltrans website. So if you want to take a look at that, feel free. Also, feel free to attend the workshop. It'll be an open house type function. So you can just kind of drop in and see the exhibits and ask questions, that sort of thing.
And what time is that?
That will be, is it 6? I believe it's 6 o'clock, but I'll confirm. We'll send that out to everyone.
Great. I think I received it. I just don't recall.
Yeah. So those are the two big items that are going on right now.
Any other items? Great.
Quick question.
Sure.
With regard to the landing, the draft EIR, if we have comments, when would be the time to do that?
At the Planning Commission hearing.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, basically, you're going to sit kind of as, the judge on the project. So you need to, basically keep your comments until you've heard all the public comments.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn? And do we need a second? I don't think we do. How about all in favor? Aye. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So,